That's how quickly life can change. You're out on a nature hike and suddenly you're in the digestive tract of coyotes, bee attacks, lightning strikes, tornadoes, brain aneurysms. The list goes on and on and on. These are the wolves that gallop around the human herd and from time to time drag one of us into oblivion. It's just the way things are. And you forget about it. And that's okay. You're not supposed to be walking around with your hands on your ears, silently screaming all the time. But we are encouraged to ignore that fact by most of the world. You're not reminded of this. There's no classes in high school, and there probably should be a class in high school called You're Gonna Die class, where everyone sits down and the teacher explains to the class that everyone that they know is going to die and that they're going to die. And so it's really important that while you're wandering around this gravity well we call planet Earth, not to waste your time hating other people, trying to get revenge on other people, or the worst crime of all, ignoring people you love because you want to punish them by withdrawing your presence from their life. That is an evil thing to do. In moments of, brushes with mortality, they wake people up. This is why after earthquakes and tornadoes and natural disasters, when the people come wandering out of their homes, they're communicative, they help each other, and suddenly it's as though they don't ignore each other anymore, which is what we all do. So, that's a preamble. Here's what happened. My ex-girlfriend, my sweet, darling friend. I got to come up with a better term than ex-girlfriend. I've talked about her a bunch on this podcast. She ended up spending the night at my house, and she wasn't feeling very well. And then the next day, we went to the doctor's office, and the doctor came out and said, you have to take her to the emergency room because she's very sick. And then suddenly I'm driving to the Glendale Memorial Hospital, which, unless you're a demon that likes to lap up the fear urine sprayed out of the cocks of dying gangsters, then probably the Glendale Memorial Hospital emergency room is not a place you want to hang out. Emergency rooms are, I imagine, all pretty terrible, and they show how, even though Western medicine seems to understand the way the human organism works down to the molecular level, they've somehow overlooked the fact that there is an aesthetic sense that human beings have and that their surroundings actually impact the way they feel. I don't know why emergency rooms, which are essentially chambers of healing, have to look like the basement of a Halloween haunted house. And these people are freaking out. You don't need to make them feel like they're extras in Jacob's Ladder. Let's get some Tibetan salt crystals in these places, baskets of antiseptic puppies that you can pet, people in white robes who look like they can channel the spirits of Atlantean healing gods. Anything would be better than numb, blank-faced doctors wandering around in a hurry trying to decide if they should tend for the gangster who just got his hand blown off by an illegal firecracker, or your girlfriend who's writhing in pain on her hospital bed because she has a fever that's about to approach the point where her brain turns into mashed potatoes. She's laying on her hospital bed. She turned to me. She's shaking with that kind of almost seizure-like tremor that overcomes people who have a very high fever. Also, her pupils had become pinpricks, and she was still writhing in pain even though they'd injected her with morphine. She turned and looked at me and said, "I'm scared." And that was the sledgehammer that obliterated all of the games that I'd been playing and allowed me to clearly see how much I cared for her and how much I wanted her in my life and how devastated I would be if she wasn't there anymore. So I'm a dummy, and I guess that's what it takes for dummies to understand that it's important to not take people for granted. It takes a trip to the emergency room. Smart people, they just innately understand that they can't have the luxury of cutting people out of their lives because they're scared of being vulnerable. They already know that. They learn that. But I guess it takes like extreme sledgehammer blows from the universe for me to break out of whatever hypnotic, convenient trance I've allowed myself to get into. And if you're treating people like crap, more than likely you are in a trance where you're allowing yourself the delusion of permanence and you think you're somehow immortal. The delusion of permanence is the mother of cunts. If you think your parents or your friends or your house or you are going to be around forever, then it creates the luxury of being a dick. But that's not the way things are at all. And once you realize that, it definitely gives you pause when you're wanting to scream at a Time Warner operator. About a 3 millisecond pause, and then you scream at them anyway.